The following program is sponsored by The Greek, Ely's Radio Shack dealer at 570 Altman in downtown Ely, and brought to you as a public service by Georgetown Media in Ely, Nevada. Ely City Council meeting, April 28, 2022.
And to the republic for which it stands, with liberty and justice for all.
We have Pastor ready for our invitation now.
Oh, Father God, I thank you for this wonderful country that we live in, for the structure of the Constitution that we do have. Father, we do pray for all of our leaders, from the president on down to the local leaders. Father, as I stand here and pray for this Ely City Council meeting, I thank you for those who are part of this council, who have volunteered their time and efforts to be able to be here. I pray, Father, for you to give them wisdom in being able to make decisions fairly and right decisions. Give them wisdom beyond their ability. And oh God, as this meeting goes forward, I pray for those who have public comments as well, that there will be peace and everything will be amicable. I pray for this in Jesus' holy name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. Go out the roll call.
Mayor Robertson,
Present.
Councilman Blankus is absent tonight. Councilman Larson,
Here.
Councilman Spear,
Here.
Councilman Allward,
Yep.
Councilwoman Williams Harper,
Present.
City Clerk Lee,
Here.
City Treasurer HR Director Trask,
Here.
City Attorney Cahoon,
Here.
Public Works Supervisor Craycraft, City Engineer Alberg, City Building Official Peterson, City Fire Chief Stork,
Here.
City Municipal Judge Coster, and that's all.
Okay, thank you. With that, we'll open public comment. Item 2, please state your name for the record. You'll have 3 minutes. Public comment? Seeing none, anything else?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, on your agenda item 6.3, to consider the approval of the City Tree Board's recommendation on tree species to be planted at the Backyard Park. There was nothing in the packet, but I received it just prior to the meeting. I would hope that we do more shade trees than pine. We got enough of those. Mr. Mayor, on your agenda item 7, before you review the 18.83 acre Georgetown Ranch lease bid with possible award. There was nothing in the packet to inform the public of what that 18.83 acres is or located on Georgetown Ranch and when it was advertised. That item should have been on the Municipal Utilities Board meeting first for discussion and consideration. It appears the council is trying to circumvent the procedure. When looking at the material that was given to me just before the meeting, the lease appears to be for 5 years. Your city code, I believe, states clearly no more than 3 years. Mr. Mayor, yesterday, March 27, 2022, I observed that the city crew had laid down a cold overlay of asphalt on the block in front of 470 Motel. The street crew was compacting the asphalt by repeatedly running over with a dump truck, back and forth the length of the project. The city council needs to address the dire needs of the street department. A proper roller should have been used, even if you had a borrow from the county or at least one from a local contractor. The city clerk and engineer are failing in their due diligence. Again, Mr. Mayor, those that can't do the job have got to go. You, Mr. Mayor, have experience in that particular type of construction, and yet you're letting me down. Mr. Mayor, recently, March 30th, 2022, a family member of mine was given a notice and order for his rental property at 842 East Altman. The garage that was noticed was used as a game room for the family. The building inspector wanted sewer and water installed when no one was living in there. I have asked for months, maybe years, for a list of those property owners that have been permitted and that are allowed to park their RVs on the city streets or lots, plugged into power, no sewer water connection. To date, I've received nothing. I want to know who filed a complaint against my family member. Did the complaining party also file a complaint against the newly opened business next door at 894 East Altman? It doesn't have mandated ADA access required by federal, state, and city code, as well as required off-street parking. The selective enforcement has got to stop. The harassment has got to stop. Mr. Mayor, you've done nothing in regards to the sewer locations for my property on Great Basin. You got both sewer connections on the lower lot. Your code says in front of the property. Also, when Q&G was in here, he caused leakage on the property, and I've received nothing yet. I want some answers, Mr. Mayor.
Is there any other public comment? Hearing and seeing none, we move to item 3. Mayor discussion for possible action, approval of agenda, including removal of agenda items. Any motion on this?
I'll move to approve.
Motion from Councilman Carson, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Councilwoman Williams Harper. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried as so ordered. City Department reports. Fire Chief.
Nothing more unless there's any question.
Any questions from the Fire Chief? I believe the Police Chief is here tonight. Municipal Court Judge, Judge Costa, do you have anything for us?
No, sir, I do not.
Thank you, Judge. City Attorney.
Yes, just one thing, I believe we need an ordinance amending Title IX, establishing the adoption of proper building codes, and I'll be working on that and presenting a first reading to the council.
Okay.
That's
City Clerk.
On April 18th, I received an email from the Governor's Office of Economic Development. We are pleased to inform you that the following projects for the City of Ely have been approved for the 2022 CDBG grant year. The Bell Avenue Waterline Project, $274,350. And the Parker Stevens Avenue Sewer Project, $373,350. So we're very pleased about that.
That's
And
wonderful.
I'd also like to acknowledge a $25,000 donation from the Kenneth E. Frazier Family Trust for the trap, neuter, and release program for feral cats. And I've contacted all of the veterinarians. One of them has responded that they're interested, and I'll wait to hear from the other two. I'll begin implementing that.
What was the dollar amount again, please?
$25,000.
Thank you.
Okay, Sheriff Frazier, fully out. Any other questions? Okay, thank you. City Treasurer. City Public Works Supervisor. City Water Operator, City Engineer.
Our golf course well is back up and running. That motor had been set off just for some maintenance or whatever, and so it came back last week, up and running, and running very smoothly and quietly, so that was a success. Unfortunately, our North Street well did go down, and so we're in the process of getting some quotes and costs together to get that North Street well up and running. North Street has always been one of our backup wells that we truly, for the last so many years, we haven't really been turned on other than to keep it up to date with water samples and everything else. But we've been using it this year a little bit because 7P being down from the mines and the dewatering well up here. So we're using it, but at this point in time, we're still in great shape. Everything is running good. Our tanks are basically full of water every night, and they're not even running 24 hours a day or anything else at this point in time. So we're doing good. Another thing that we also did this last week is we coordinated with Mike and Carl and the water crew to be able to better utilize our 10th and M well. 10th and M well is running very infrequently throughout the day to keep the concrete tank, which is over the Bobcat by the high school, full. And so that's one of our wells that we have the ability by changing a few valves out in the street that we can actually pump that to the courthouse tanks. And so not that we've necessarily needed it at this point in time, but we have done it several times the last week and a half or whatever, just get used to it so that when it comes in the summer and we may need some extra water, we have that ability to turn it over in a very timely manner, and it's something that we know exactly what we're doing. So other things that we got going is the state revolving loan funds for, which that's what our Porter group, our Fairmarks will go through. They actually have gone to a computer system now, so we actually have to take all our old stuff that was in it and reapply it back in it for them back into their computer software or whatever. So we're working through, they had to give us some passwords and everything else because this is all brand new system, so we're working through that. And then the other thing that's been kept us busy is our Alton stuff. We did turn in a submittal package yesterday to them of some 60%. I know I've said in the past, we have included 60% in the past, but what that 60% was missing some of the stuff over in East Ely, and then they just gave everybody more time to compile it. So it's a much completer 60% set. So that's into them, and now that work will be able to, now we start dealing with NDOT quite regularly, where they're dealing with making sure that they're in conflicts with their storm drain or anything else, because that becomes a problem, because we have 3 utilities basically going in this one street. And so that's where everybody's got their plans in. We've done what we could to try to miss each other, but as we go through and chat, we'll start going through all of that. So that's kind of the main thing for us. Any questions?
Yes.
Thank you.
City building official,
Happy to answer the question.
care to give a report on your mobile home park?
Oh, sure. Thank you. I got certified in mobile
Great report.
Fire deal.
Is that effective immediately? Or
Yes.
Okay.
So
Great.
almost full boat, still waiting here from the fire department, so they had 60 days to respond, we're on day 72, so. I'm imagining it's coming anytime soon, so. Okay, any questions? All right,
Thank you, Greg. Item 5, report, city council. We'll start with Councilman Carson.
No report?
Councilman Street.
No report.
Councilman Albert.
I've got a written report, it's double spaced, so it won't take long. I attended a Zoom meeting put on by the Nevada Rural Housing Director, Bill Brewer, to discuss the critical need for housing in rural Nevada using ARPA funding. Rural Nevada continues to be dire need of housing for medical personnel, miners, teachers, law enforcement officers, and many other professionals that are willing to relocate to rural parts of Nevada to live and raise a family. But there is no housing. Nevada rural housing stated for the most part, rural Nevada communities don't qualify for assistance because the average wages are too high. But they are having no problem finding locations in the larger cities such as Las Vegas, Reno, and Carson City to build homes and apartments. Once again, it's my opinion that the areas that have the most of the voters get all the attention and the money. Donna Bath, during that meeting, asked Brewer how many homes were built using assistance from Nevada Rural Housing Authority. Brewer reported no new homes were built in rural Nevada for the last 2 years. Currently, there is $250 million of ARPA funds set aside for affordable housing needs. Keyword, affordable housing needs. I believe that hour-long discussion fell on deaf ears once again. We must come up with ways to get housing in our city and county, or are we going to slowly dry up as a community? Economic development is not going to happen without adequate housing. The Belfort land development idea has come to a grinding halt. No legal description can be located. We went to one title company, their underwriters would not let them pursue it, so we're asking to seek assistance from another title company. I have been in contact with an individual who's interested in locating a piece of property in the city with water and sewer access to construct a 1,600 square foot, 3-bedroom, 2-bath home to demonstrate to the public how fast they can construct this style of home and have it ready for sale. There are many lots in our city that could fit this plan. However, nobody wants to sell it. And the hopes of getting funding for the hospital housing for traveling medical professionals is not looking too promising. The committee has basically been told to look for alternate funding options. The city has approved $500,000 of ARPA funds for the project. Plans will have been put together to see how far the money would stretch. Matt Walker, the CEO of the hospital, suggested to try and show the concept and how it will work. And we might be able to come to get more buy-in from the state or federal level, or even with the local boards. Other angles to try to deliver on this plan are being pursued now. Thank you.
Well, Councilman Olive stole my thunder. We were at the same meeting, but I will say, I won't be redundant, but today at Rotary, we listened to Mike Newell talk today, and he was just very complimentary of trying to get his office and what we're doing with the city to work on housing. It's the same thing over and over and over, but he was just quite complimentary to city council and hopes that we can work together and find some solutions.
Thank you. I don't know that I have anything in particular to report, except I'd like to congratulate the tree board for once again getting our certification as a Tree City USA for another year. And they sent a nice letter about that. And we're appreciative of the work they do in beautifying our community, certainly. Item 6, items for discussion, possible action of the Ely City Council as recommended by the City Tree Board. Item 1, Chairman Wolf, discussion for possible action, approval to allow the City Tree Board to apply for a grant from the Nevada Division of Forestry to pay for tree data inventory software with no match. And this looks like it was recommended by the Tree Board this morning.
Yeah, do you guys have any questions on that at all?
Is there a motion on the side?
Move to approve.
Motion from Councilman Spears, is there a second?
Second.
Second from Councilman Carter. Any further discussion?
Who's going to be administering this bill? You?
Talking with the folks from the Nevada Division of Forestry, it appears it'll be a grant that will apply for the money, and they'll actually then spend the money and then give us the product. So, yeah, I mean, it's not as if we're going to get the money or spend the money and then have to get reimbursed on it. It's more that Division of Forestry has the money, they'll find the contractor and then implement it.
Is there any other discussion?
What's the dollar amount?
We don't know yet. Right now, they've got a new lady that's in the job, plus they've got a pretty good chunk of new money coming in, and they're still not understanding exactly what the parameters are on it. But if we're saying in here, we've approved it as no match, and it could be just an in-kind match, which is already every year as part of our Tree City USA thing, the city treasurer comes up with the amount of money that is spent on arbor-related work through the city parks, and that comes to about $15,000. And so if they need a match, that would be the match. And so, yeah.
Parameters 2,000 to 20, wasn't it? Yeah.
Pardon again?
2 to 20.
The
minimum you can apply for is 2 and the most is 20.
Again, the software thing, and let me back up. I'm kind of conflating a couple of things. We're also looking at doing a tree survey, and so with the software part of it, the tree survey and the software part of it are kind of going hand in hand. To do the survey, you might as well have software that maps it, tells you about all the trees, what you've got, what condition they're in, and those kind of things. So the software would actually then be the monitoring part of it, where you do the survey, now it's entered into a database, and the database would then be maintained. Either the city or the county guy who might go out would look at if you're going to do something to the tree, you put it into the database. As part of the grant, we would be asking for a couple of tablets so that they can do it out in the field rather than having to come back and do it on the computer. As part of this, they think that this software stuff would be like $1,500 a year, and the grant would pay for that cost of the software to monitor the health of the urban and community forest. And so, I'm sorry?
Just asking for any further discussion.
Let me just say this too. So they think they can do it for 3 years. If they can, terrific. If they can't, then we'll have to step back and go, do we want to buy it and pay that amount every year to monitor these things? And so that'll be a discussion to come up based on what they come back to us with. There's no reason that if it's a 3-year grant, it couldn't be a recurring grant, but it'll always come down to money. So if we get the grant, we expect it to be a 3-year grant at this point to pay for that. If it doesn't come through, then in 3 years, we'll fall back to Plan B, whether it's asking the mines for a small donation to help continue to fund that cost. There's a company out there that has this database. You log into their website, it's maintained on their site, blah, blah, blah. And that's where the real cost comes in. I've succeeded in confusing everybody, I fear.
We do have a motion and a second on this item. If there's no further discussion, we will call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. So ordered. Item 2, Chairman Wolf, discussion for possible action recommendation to allow the city tree board to work with White Pine County on developing a countywide tree database and countywide tree plantings. And this item is also recommended for approval by the tree board. I'll entertain a motion. Motion from Councilman Allworth. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilwoman Williams Harper. Is there any discussion on this item? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Not me.
There you go. Item 3, Chairman Wolf, discussion for possible action, approval of City Tree Board's recommendations on tree species to be planted as part of the Jack Caleb Park completion. And it looks like the tree board concurred with the selection of species that civil science engineering has chosen. Is that correct?
That's correct. And just real quick to go down through the list, they're looking at putting in some flowering crab apples. All the trees that they're putting in are stuff that we've seen around here before and should thrive. The question in the public comment was about having trees that are going to be big enough to actually provide shade. So going through these, flowering crab apples, not too big. Marshall seedless ash, they'll get to be 60 foot or so. Little leaf linden can go to 130 feet, it's not uncommon. The honey locusts, we know they're not that big. Hammer maples, they'll get to be 30, 40 feet. And then the two spruces aren't really considered shade trees, but they can't cast a shadow. So this is available if somebody wants it.
Who's gonna oversee the planning of these?
The contractor. The contractor, whoever has the contract.
Who's gonna oversee the contract?
Beats me, I think it's a county grant, isn't it?
Yeah, that's my concern. We can put a lot in the county grant, but we have a contractor doing the work that's done piping, roads, curb and gutter. I just want to make sure, that this gets put in correctly. I mean, look at the diagram, the holes. I'm not putting it on you, but we need to have somebody oversee this.
And my understanding is civil science is a project manager.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
And our public works director and DJ as well have been intersecting with this contractor on this project, yeah. Or at least with civil science, yeah.
After the meeting this morning regarding the tree database, we did get some information back from NDF. They were able to deliver that to us. And the survey that was done in 2014 was pretty much just Ely and McGill. Between the two areas, we had 1,704 trees. So that's a lot of trees. Here in Ely, and let me double check something. The park by the hospital is a county park, is that correct?
Is that right?
Pardon?
Is that the part?
Yeah.
It's county park.
All right, so then that means in Ely, we have about, what do we got? Where am I at? 317 trees in Ely. And so the rest of those are all going to be various county parks between the two cities. The grant we're going to go for will hopefully then update all that stuff that was done in 2014.
I'm sorry to cut you off though, but are we still talking about the Jack Caleb Park item?
No, I'm sorry, my apologies.
I'm just a little confused. If you wanted to go back and talk about the survey?
Just to give some background data on it, my apologies. I didn't want to jump in there while you were voting.
I got confused. I thought that's a lot of trees to put in one park.
No, yeah, this is going back to the survey that was done in 2014 for the rest of the county. So if it's appropriate, I can give you this information. If not, we can give it to the clerk and it can come out as part of the.
We can make that available to the council members. But on the item for Jack Caleb Park, is there a motion? Motion from Councilwoman Williams Harper. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Councilman Spear. Any further discussion? All in favor?
No.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Chairman.
Yes.
Item 7, consent agenda. We have minutes for March 24th and those for April 15th. If there are no questions or corrections on any of those, I will entertain
to the fire station with volunteers. I'll vote on that, and it would be good for the community. Thank you.
So moved. Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve.
Motion from Councilman Carson, do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilman Spear. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries so ordered. Item B, new business. One, Mayor Robertson, discussion for possible action, approval of support letter for Bald Mountain Mine Plan of Operations, amendment number 6, Juniper Project. You have a draft of that in this packet. I will entertain a motion on that.
We'll move to approve that.
Motion from Councilman Spear, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Councilman Carson, is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried and so ordered. Item 2, Councilman Spear, Councilman Allworth, discussion only. Update on quarter group efforts on the city of Yulee behalf to secure federal and state funding.
Well, we've actually got no meeting since our last meeting because we went back to twice, every other week. We're just kind of in a holding pattern. We'll meet again more into the second, so see how that goes. I think right now it's a weight game.
Yeah.
That's all it is. But you've seen on the email that they're reworking for still.
Okay. Anything else? We'll move on to item 3, Council Members, City Fire Chief Stork. Council Members, City Fire Chief Stork, discussion for possible action, approval of 2022 Cooperative Fire Protection Agreement between the City of Yulee Fire Department and the USDI Bureau of Land Management Yulee District.
So you guys got a copy of this. This is just renew basically our operating plan agreement. This is done every 5 years. Last time it was done in 2018. So just kind of spelled out how we work together and update our contact information, radio frequencies and stuff. So more of a kind of a formality thing we got to do.
Okay. So you do have that paperwork in your packet. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion from Councilman Carson, do I have a second?
Second.
A second from Councilman Williams Harper. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried and so ordered. Item 4, Council Members, City Clerk Lee, discussion for possible action, review of 18.83 acre Georgetown Ranch lease, bids with possible award.
So the bid invitation, which was published in the Times on April 8th and posted on the city's website under bid invitations, noted that the term of the lease shall be for 5 years. We received 2 bids. The first bid from Cody Bliss, Cody Coons, and Ben Noyes submitted 10-year and 15-year plans as well, but your bid tab just contains the 5-year option. That totaled, their proposal totaled $18,000 in improvements over 5 years and $6,371 in total for lease fees. Jake and Jennifer Brunson proposed $6,000 in improvements over 5 years with $4,040 total in lease fees.
On the proposed lease rate, on that first page where it has 0 for the Brunsons and 1,200 for Bliss, Coons, and Williams, is that, how does their lease rate fit into that?
That's correct. That is their proposal. The Brunsons are trying to put most of their improvements in the first year. So.
Well, I mean, are the improvements separate from the lease rate?
Yes,
Okay.
but that was I believe that was the reasoning why why they're proposing not to pay a lease fee the first year.
Okay.
Yeah.
And these bids are acceptable and reviewed by our attorney?
Yes.
What's the pleasure of the council on this item?
I just have a question. How come it didn't get run in front of the utility board? Was it a timing issue?
It was a timing issue. If the existing leaseholder opted not to bid, which he didn't, I was trying to allow him adequate time to move. But he has been noticed, he received the invitation, and, you know, certainly we could delay it and put it in front of the utilities board on the 12th, because at this point where he didn't bid, he knows he's going to have to remove any property.
The council has the final say anyway, so
Yes.
I'm just curious. Thank you.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions about any good information?
Not for me, I think we should stick with 5 years for sure. That's what we spec'd out. And looks like the Cody Blitzen gang got the high bid to me. Let's put it back together.
Is that a motion to award with 5 years?
I'll move to approve for 5 years, yeah.
Do I have a second? Second from Councilman Allworth. Is there any further discussion?
The motion is approved, include this in that group.
For 5 years. Okay. If there's no further discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 5, council members, city treasurer Trask, discussion for possible action, approval of resolution 2022-6 for the purpose of augmenting the city of Yulee's general fund using the unbudgeted revenue collected in the general fund to apply towards the operating expenses in the general fund. Treasurer Trask.
Any questions on it?
And as we discussed today, just for the benefit of the council, this is in relation to the ARPA funds and how we
Yes.
report it.
This is after they make the council made the decision to use the revenue loss. I have done the accounting to report up through all expenses through the end of March, and that's created an unbudgeted revenue that we can use towards the expenses that we've paid out
And this
in
was,
community service.
this went all through the McKay
Yes,
guy too.
yes. Actually, it's been through Kay, and we've also talked to Keddington, our auditors.
I'll entertain a motion on this item.
So moved.
Motion from Councilman Allworth. Do I have a second? Second from Councilwoman Williams Harper. Is there any further discussion or any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried and so ordered. Item 8, public comment. Please state your name for the record. For 3 minutes.
For the record, Jared Bidey, the Bureau of Land Management, Criscona Field Manager. I'd like to thank the council for the letter of support on the Bald Mountain Mine expansion project. I would also like to remind the council that BLM did provide an invitation to be a cooperating agency, and that the city of Yulee can be a cooperator at any time, even though we've already started the environmental impact statement process, and we are in the scoping period right now, which concludes on May 2nd. So I just wanted to bring that awareness before we really get going and hard and heavy in the process, that if the city chooses to still, has that opportunity to still be a cooperator. I'd also like to point out that our project manager, Conchetta Brown, is joined via technology, and she would be a good point of contact if the city does decide that they'd like to be a cooperating agency with the benefits of being the deliberative process.
What was the benefit again you said the last time?
The deliberative process.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, the new Justice Center does not meet minimum ADA compliance. You go on the southeast end, they've got parking for the handicap, but you have to step up 2 steps in order to access the building. Completely against code, completely against federal regulations. I've told the commission several times, nothing has happened. Your previous building inspector let it go. I don't know what your new one is going to do, but I have a concern there. Also, on the corner of Avenue D and Highway 93, the stop sign get knocked down. You don't have ADA access. That's been ignored for months. You need to address that. Mr. Mayor, you talked about making the city better looking. You came after me and my family, yet nothing's been done on 1100 block at Campton. Mr. Allworth brought up, I have to be a man, I have to man up. He needs to man up. The Avenue C deterioration has been going on for years. Whether you want to go after rich people or not, doesn't matter. You seem to be having a good time going after those that are economically challenged or happen to be minorities. Remember, equal protection under the law. You need to address that. Ignoring that is not going to get you anywhere. Mr. Mayor, I've approached the Regional Planning Commission on numerous occasions and asked them to date if they've addressed any of the city and White Pine County code violations by members of the Planning Commission, some of the White Pine County Commissioners, as well as the City Council people. Today, nothing's been done. You have acquired building, no permit, no contractor. You have Mr. Allworth, no special permit. Is he paying utilities? Same with Mr. Spear. Same with Mr. Flangus. How long are you going to let that go, Mr. Mayor? Everybody else seems to be paying. Everybody else has to comply with rules and regulations. Again, you're going after economically challenged people and ethnic minorities. That needs to stop. Equal protection under the law. I've asked about permitting for different properties. You got RVs all over the place. Are they permitted? If they are, fine. I want a list of that, Mr. Mayor. I've got properties that I can't rent. I've evicted 4 people because I was supposedly not to code. You guys sit here and cry that there's no housing available. I've got property available, but I can't rent it because of all you people and your regulations. You're discriminating against me, and that needs to stop. I want to talk to the Porter Group.
Thank you, Mr. Chachas.
One last comment.
Mr. Chachas,
Is that an RV right across from
Mr.
Mr. Allworth?
Chachas, your 3 minutes are finished. Thank you.
Yet.
Any other public comment? Hearing and seeing none, we'll move on to item 9 adjournment. Motion from Councilman Spear, second from Councilman Allworth. All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
1 minute.
Did I make it? I made it.
You beat me fair.
This has been a Georgetown production. George Chachas reporting.